Washington, September 1st, 1861. After dinner, Father wished to go see the President and asked Jenny and I to go too. So in all our traveling attire, we went to make a very informal visit to Mr. Lincoln in his library office. He received us very cordially. I liked him very much. He looked sick, and as I fear, threatened with intermittent fever. The room was awfully hot, with gas and wood fire. Several came in among them. S.P. Chase had some conversations with Mr. Nicolai, whom I liked quite well. We were there perhaps half an hour or more. I have no time to write longer of this home, and soon after to bed. Oh, Mr. Lincoln showed us his pretty cats, kittens given him by Father Tuesday. They were playing in one of the grand halls. Mr. L. seemed quite fond of them, says they climb all over him. Hi, I'm Frances Seward. Everyone calls me Fanny, so I'm not confused with my mother, who is also named Frances. I was just reading my diary that I kept to record my daily life. I was describing one of my many visits to Washington, D.C. when my father was working there as a Secretary of State to Mr. Lincoln. I'd like to tell you a little about the life of my father, William Seward. I must say that I'm very proud of him and his accomplishments. Here are some images of him along with some of his accomplishments. Negotiated the Alaska Treaty, Governor of New York, United States Senator, Secretary of State under Lincoln, and Station Master of the Underground Railroad. This is our house. I'm hoping you will be able to come and visit. I live on 33 South Street in Auburn, New York. Our house is now a museum and contains many artifacts that will help tell the story of William Seward and his family. Please come in and be our guest. One of the nicest features of our house is the staircase leading up to the second floor. It's made of two beautiful woods called laurel and manzanita. When visiting the museum, you'll learn why Father received the wood used to build the staircase. Our front parlor is normally where we greet our visitors. The library is one of my favorite places in the house. There are over 2,500 books on these shelves. Find out about my personal collection of books behind the door. Here is the house's original kitchen. Everything was cooked over the fire. Luckily, we had a cook to prepare our meals for us. When later the kitchen was moved, this room became a station on a very special and dangerous railroad. Next door is our original dining room. Here is our new formal dining room, where my father entertained important guests such as Henry Clay, Daniel Webster, General Ulysses S. Grant, and George A. Custer, Presidents John Quincy Adams, Martin Van Buren, and Andrew Johnson. My favorite piece on the table is the silver centerpiece. My father bought it in Washington, D.C. for $260, which is about a year's salary for one of our servants. Our drawing room is similar to your living room or family room. It's a nice place to relax with friends and family. There are many mementos and paintings in this room. Each one has a story to tell. This is a portrait of yours truly. Upstairs is a giant globe that belongs to my father. When he was traveling the world, he would send my niece and nephew letters giving them the latitude and longitude of his location. They would use this globe to find out from where he was writing. This is my grandfather's room, Judge Miller. He was the one who originally had this house built. He invited my father to live here when my father asked for his daughter's hand in marriage. That would be my mother. There are two special rooms in the house. This one's called the Alaska Room. It contains many images and artifacts from Alaska that my father received after negotiating the purchase of Alaska. Some of the objects are made by the natives of Alaska. Here is a scary mask, a rattle, and a whale carving. I wonder if they have all the modern conveniences that we have, like outhouses, water pumps, and indoor fireplaces. This famous painting represents the signing of the Treaty of Alaska very early in the morning on March 30th, 1867. Do you recognize the globe in the picture? The second special room is called the Civil War Room. Here we keep the guns and equipment used by my brothers when they were in this tragic war. This room also contains some vivid reminders of one of the most terrible nights of my life. My father was resting up in his bed as he had been in a carriage wreck earlier that week. A stranger came to the house and said he had medicine for my father. My brother became suspicious of the man when all of a sudden the stranger brandished a pistol, pointed it at my brother's head, and pulled the trigger. The gun miraculously misfired, but the assassin proceeded to brutally beat my brother about his head. The villain ran up the stairs wielding a large knife. He found my ailing father and began stabbing him again and again. I screamed for help. Help! Help! There was blood everywhere. Wait until you hear the horrendous outcome of this plot to overthrow the Union government. I was speechless when I heard that this was the same night of Lincoln's assassination in Washington. The blood-soaked sheet from my father's bed is on display in this room. My father's study was his retreat in the house. He'd like to go there to think out his problems. You will see where my dear father spent the last moments of his life, and you will hear his simple last words to his family. Don't forget to see our family's horse carriage. Do you remember I told you about my father's carriage accident? Well, I was there, and was it scary. I was in the carriage with my father. The door was not working right, and our driver got out to fix the latch. Well, something spooked the horses, and they took off. Father tried to get out of the carriage to stop the horses. He fell out of the carriage and lay crumpled on the ground with a broken arm and a broken jaw. Meanwhile, I was in the runaway carriage headed for disaster. Well, I'm running out of time, so you'll have to hear the end of the story when you visit our house. I haven't even told you about the Transcontinental Railroad. My father was instrumental in its completion. You may have heard that the last spike driven to join the railroads was made of pure gold. Well, that gold spike had a gold nugget attached to it. As a memento of this historic project, the nugget was made into 5 gold rings. Guess who owns one of those gold rings? My father also had the 3rd ticket used on the Transcontinental Railroad. You'll have to come here yourself and hear about these and many other stories of the Seward house.